From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
Oh, boys, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get myself out of bed this morning, I'm telling you.
It was one of those days, wasn't it?
And it's the weather here. It's, how can we put it? It's persistently raining, put it that way.
Yeah, not good at all in the northeast. Bit of a damp morning to start, but we will endeavour to make it nice and hot on this.
Nice and hot. I like it.
Well, according to the Wrexham map, Newcastle are a little bit further away from Borough at the moment. So
yeah, you should be getting more rain.
It's quite different
on the western side of the Pennines, mate. You should be getting more rain.
Are Sunderland on that map?
No,
they're not.
They're not big enough. Not a big enough club to be on.
And moving on from bogies this morning, I wanted to talk about.
Did you really have to bring it up?
Well, I've had problems.
One minute into the show. 1 minute.
I've had a couple of weeks where I've had one blocked here, then I cleared that one, and the other one's been blocked. So I decided to have earwax, and the biggest lump of earwax ever to be taken out of somebody's ear is 2.5 centimetres.
Oh no!
And bearing in mind that the average ear canal only measures around 3 centimetres, lads. Wow. That's massive. So I thought I had problems, lads. But I can hear everybody loud and clear now. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing when we hear Rise singing later on.
Well, yes, and an absolute exclusive on the show. And it's your first airplay of Rye's new song for the Riverside. Excellent.
Oh, dear me, how.
Testing that PA system.
Yeah,
brand new at the Riverside. What a night, lads! What a night! We always wonder if we're gonna have stuff to talk about, but it's been a big night of news, hasn't it?
Oh, I tell you what.
Yeah, well, it was your lass's birthday.
It was,
and it was my wedding anniversary.
And it was Dave's wedding anniversary. Yep. So.
Oh, guess what?
So both got sore heads.
We can remind each other each year.
Fellas, I've left my phone downstairs. Oh, that's no good.
Oh, Dave.
Oh,
come on,
no
mate.
Good. Do you reckon you could? Do you reckon you could talk for 2 minutes while I get down to the office and get my phone? Because all my show notes are on there, aren't they?
They are.
What a start! What a start!
So right, okay, I know what you were getting at. Let's talk about Newcastle United's Sandro Tonali.
Wow. Yes.
I just can't believe this, mate. I genuinely cannot believe this. And this story is picking up momentum for different reasons. So, got to be careful legally what we talk about.
We do.
There's nothing proven here, but of course...
not concrete.
No, Nicolo Zaniolo and Sandro Tonali have both been released from Italy's squad after the Turin Public Prosecutor Office conducted an investigation into players. So basically... they have been questioned as part of a betting probe. Now, the reason that this seems to be getting murkier and murkier is there is an article going around at the moment online, which suggests that this could be bigger than we thought. And I don't mean bigger in the terms of a betting syndicate, but it seems as if this could be part of a bigger story. And the story that I'm alleging here is that there's been a top paparazzi who's gone missing after being given a jail sentence in Italy, and that's a guy called Fabrizio Corona, who is the king of Italy's paparazzi. Now he's been hunted after a court ordered him to be jailed for 5 years for blackmailing a footballer with compromising photographs. Now that's alleged to be David Trezeguet. He's the married French footballer who was then playing for Juventus, and in return for not publishing photos of him leaving a nightclub with a woman, he was asked to hand over some cash apparently to this guy. Now this is what this guy's been jailed for, so this is all in the public domain. Now there is suggestions that this particular betting probe story could be linked to that particular case. Now if that's the case, this is going to grow and grow. It's not good news for Newcastle United, of course, because we spent a lot of money on a midfield player who, if this went down the worst case scenario, could be unavailable for a considerable amount of time. We've already seen,
and you couldn't sell him either, could you? That would be the thing. Yeah.
But I don't know how much of that you heard, Dave, because obviously you were off getting your phone. But I was just telling the listeners that this essentially is grown overnight, because it's not just been a simple accusation and investigation as part of a betting probe. The news that's breaking in the Telegraph tonight is that it could be potentially linked to this missing photographer in Italy who has been jailed in his absence for 5 years for essentially trying to blackmail David Trezeguet, and they reckon it could be linked to that. Now, like what I'm saying is, this could grow and grow, this story. I mean, what's the worst case scenario, Newcastle fans? The worst case scenario is that he could be found guilty, and he could be serving a ban from anything from 1 year to 3 years, and that would be worldwide football. I think the other question to ask is, did Milan know about this? So have Milan seen this coming and decided we better get rid of this guy? Because let's face it, there wasn't much of a fight to keep Sandro Tonali by Milan, was there? They're one of their best players, the captain of their team, the guy who got them to the semi-finals of the Champions League, and then suddenly...
And the guy who didn't want to go.
And the guy who didn't want to go is suddenly forced out of the club. People are saying that he hasn't looked as if he was playing his best football, looked as if he was troubled, looked as if he had things on his mind. Well, maybe now we know what it is. And this really is going to send shockwaves through football, but it certainly sends shockwaves through Tyneside overnight, right?
Yeah, and look, it's actually incredible when you posted the story in our little group, and I just couldn't believe what I was reading. But yeah, it does seem to be, and obviously we have to be careful because it is going to be quite a deep legal battle, it does seem. But hearing that, Tonali, and they must be clearly upset, both Sandro and Nicola, because what news to get when you've just wrapped up to Italy's training camp, and then to have prosecutors come and find you on the training ground must have been quite a interesting sort of moment. But yeah, look, it's we've obviously got Ivan Toney. He got 8 months. He's currently about to come back, I believe, in January after being banned for 8 months for the breach in the FA betting rules. Again, it'll be interesting for me as well, because Tonali wasn't part of the FA. Really, if this has happened while he was at Milan, I'm not too sure how England and the FA handle it. I mean, if it is, proven to be, that the two lads have been betting, but it may be, one of them under their FA, but Tonali definitely not. So be interested to see how the FA handle that. But send them home accordingly.
It'll be FIFA.
It'll be FIFA. So it won't be the FA this time around. So it'll be interesting to see what the FIFA's punishment is compared to what Ivan Toney got from the FA. But look, I mean, for now, I mean, the only upside is Tonali, who's played a lot of games of football, gets a bit of a break, and that doesn't have to play now during the international break and get a couple of weeks off. And there's no, obviously, outstanding ban or anything right now that he stops him from playing for Newcastle in the next coming week. So hopefully he can come home and get around the Newcastle lads, get around the coaches, and get some news. But look, there's a lot to play out with this, listeners. It really is. And like Steve said and then put so accurately, it could be right down from blackmail right up to not true, right up down to true. And so lot to play out on this one. It's going to be a story we're going to probably cover for the next couple of weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, Steve, you've probably, when I nipped away to get my phone, you probably mentioned this, but as a Borough fan, obviously, I skim read it, take an interest because it's a football story. I'm sure you're all over it like a rash, being a Newcastle fan. Has it given any indication of the time that this investigation's been going on? How long Tonali's known about it?
No, it's gone very little into detail. Essentially, it's just that he was, withdrawn from the Italian squad with immediate effect alongside Nicolo Zaniolo, who of course plays for Aston Villa. Essentially that they'd been questioned as part of the betting probe. And I mean, the story was broken by the Italian news agency ANSA last night. So rather suspicious, a lot of people scratching their heads, not understanding what on earth was going on. And then, as I say, this morning I woke up to a couple of messages from like a reliable source from my side of things, who then sent me the article from from the Italian press and also from the Guardian this morning about this paparazzi called Fabrizio Corona. who has been hunted by police. Now, this is the guy who was accused of blackmailing a footballer with compromising photos. He's known as the king of Italia's paparazzi, and he's now missing from his Milan apartment. He was found guilty by at least top appeal court of demanding £25,000 in 2009 from David Trezeguet in return for not publishing any photographs. And we're just wondering whether this can be, they're just wondering whether this guy is, whether this guy could be linked. You know what I mean? It's when I looked deeper into the story, this is a story that's gone back probably about 9 or 10 years. So they're wondering whether this guy could be linked. That's the tenuous link that we've got, and it looks like this one's been revisited. People are looking at this and going, well, this could be connected. Is this the guy who has been involved in this particular situation? But like I say, we've all got to be careful when we're talking about these kind of things. There's no proof. This could be completely unlinked. The article that's circulating is more than 10 years old, but that's a lot of people pointing to that and saying potentially this could be the reason why this has come out. Is this the guy who's doing it? But look, there's been no convictions yet. They haven't been thrown, they haven't been hauled over the coals. They haven't been they haven't been tried on this. They haven't been found guilty or not guilty. All they've done, essentially, the two players, is they've gone in and they've spoken to the the committee, if you like, who are dealing with this question. And they've given their side of the story, I guess. So as Rai rightly points out, these people, these two footballers aren't going to be unavailable at the moment. The problem is it's how it affects them mentally, guys. It's how it affects them mentally and how they how they cope with this mentally. And there's a lot of people been saying Tonali doesn't look as if he's settled in England. Well, maybe it's because he's had all the worries of this on his shoulders, and now it's out in the open. He's going to have to, if he is guilty, he's going to have to serve his punishment. If he's not guilty, he'll be relieved, and we might see a different side of Sandro Tonali on the football pitch. But it is a strange situation that's developing overnight.
And
it definitely is.
Just looking at it from a slightly wider perspective, PIF have come in, they've invested in Newcastle, Saudi ownership. Gambling's outlawed in Saudi. So for them to have an investigation against one of their new signings to do with gambling, I'm sure it's not going down too well in the hallowed circles of Newcastle United ownership, is it?
Yeah, maybe.
We don't know.
PIF,
but it's not proven. That's the thing as well.
It's not proven yet.
That's why I said an investigation going on.
Yeah.
Look, I think PIF should. I mean, they don't drink alcohol out there.
Exactly.
They showed how they're going to handle things when Joe Linton was caught drink driving. They didn't get involved. They left it to the club to sort it out in house. It wasn't played across the media, and I would imagine Newcastle United will do similar with this. There'll be no comment. I think Eddie Howe will be thankful that there's no game this weekend, because today's press conference would have been inundated with questions about this. Just looking into this, there's a Twitter account which again is quite reliable, and one of my go-tos and the lads' go-tos who I associate with on NUFC Matters, called Swedish Rumble. And just digging a bit deeper into this guy who I mentioned, the paparazzi. He has. This is where this story's come from and why people are recirculating this story. It's because it says, let me get this right, some really iffy social media character with a history of blackmailing players in the past with incriminating photos broke during this summer that he has some big scoops coming, and in early August he revealed that wonder kid Niccolò Fagioli was involved. Did AC Milan know something when they sold Tonali to Newcastle? Which is what I said at the top of the programme. So as I said, this is going to go bigger and bigger. The Football Oracle obviously is publishing it on Twitter as well. Lots of people talking about it. Newcastle, Aston Villa and Juventus involved. Zaniolo, Fagioli, Tonali, all involved. And if this guy who... I'll have to check into it. Did he serve his prison sentence? Was he caught 10 years ago? Did he serve his prison sentence? Has he come back out? Has he resumed his previous career? I don't don't know. But this, like I said, this story's got legs, and it's not a pleasant one for Tonali and Newcastle United to be involved in. But as I say, we've just got to see how it all pans out. But it's disappointing, and more players seem to get involved. And we're not suggesting that these 3 players are involved, but we've seen it with Ivan Toney. That case is tried and tested. He's serving his ban. It comes to an end in 2024. It's clearly something that footballers like to do. They like to get involved in this. And a lot of it's got to come down to simply having too much time on their hands and boredom.
Yeah, and money, and sometimes money, but they've also, they've got loaded pockets. But we sometimes forget. We talk about drugs in football, alcohol and that, but we forget gambling's also an addiction. It's an addiction that some
absolutely
exactly. Some of these lads literally have an addiction to it, and that doesn't stop just because they become a footballer, or maybe it starts when they become a footballer and they've got the money to do it. Maybe they were in a household where their parents did it, or whatever it may be. You just don't know the upbringings and the surroundings of each of these players, but. Yeah, look, it's sad, and it's because Tonali and Nicola are quite young, 23, 22, dealing with this sort of stuff mentally must be quite tough. I can't imagine what 22, 23 getting asked about all this sort of stuff, and if it has been going on for quite some time, then mentally they must be exhausted. I mean, the rumor is that Sandro left the training ground in tears, so that it must be weighing on both these lads, but it'd be interesting to see if they did know anything about it. But look, a lot to play out, a lot to come with it. We're only stage 1 of probably about stage 6 stages of it that needs to be broken down with. And you're absolutely right. I'd say Eddie Howe would probably be calling the player in, having a chat, making sure he's okay and he's in the right mental condition. The club will take him in and take care of him. He's still their player. There's still someone they care about. He's probably created friendships within the club and stuff like that. And same for Nicolo at Aston Villa. I'm sure Aston Villa will be taking care of him at the moment. But a lot more to come. It'll be very interesting to see if it is proven true, how FIFA handles it in comparison to how FA handled the Ivan Toney situation, whether it'll be on par or if it'll be more, severe or, lesser severe. So, because then, you look at it, and if it is proven, guilty and it's less than what Ivan Toney got, then Ivan Toney might turn around and say, well, hang on a second, and, or anyone else that's gone through it. So, yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, well, it is. He might be down Witherspoons now, getting his breakfast.
Yep.
crying into his porridge or his fry.
Is that the Witherspoons in Manchester, according to the Wrexham documentary makers who've produced the football map?
In Manchester, yeah, that's hilarious, isn't it? It really is, that football map. I mean,
Newcastle's in Manchester.
Oh, that map.
We're not a visual show, but I'm sure Ryan will stick it on Twitter to share.
I will. I'll put it on Twitter and I'll share it.
We'll definitely stick it up. But I love the fact that Wrexham's in the right spot. Funnily enough, Borough's in the right spot, but they got Wrexham right. Yeah. And you would think if they were going to get something right, it would be Wales. But Swansea and Cardiff are in Devon.
That's the best part. Wrexham, the Welsh club, have absolutely obliterated their other Welsh mates. Yeah. Not even putting them in Wales. It's incredible, isn't it?
You're in England.
I will share the photo. But if you are on social media, all you need to do is check out Brentford, obviously the Brentford Premier League team, because they have had a funny little joke back at this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Wrexham obviously have a documentary produced by Ryan Reynolds, from America and through Netflix, and they've made a documentary about Ryan Reynolds taking over the club, and obviously they released a footballing map of England, showing all the teams around England and how big football is in England. And they've put all the club badges all around England. And let's just say it was like pin the tail on a donkey for some of these badges, because
that's probably the best way of describing it, isn't it?
They have stuck some of these clubs. They put Brentford up, probably the furthest northeast team.
Yep.
So
Brentford's in Carlisle.
Expect a Middlesbrough Brentford derby now. Blackburn is also just to the left of Brentford at the very top of England. Cardiff are now not in Wales anymore. They're a Devon team. So bad luck, Cardiff. Unlucky. It's like
Queen's Park Rangers.
Funny,
Queen's Park Rangers are on the English-Welsh border. It's fantastic. And the thing I like about it is they're getting London clubs wrong as well. So
they are.
Yes,
they are.
Love
they're
it.
all over the shop. Everton's furthest left team of England now as well.
They're in Boston or somewhere, aren't they? They're Washington, Norfolk, yeah.
They are, yep. So they're Everton have now moved as well.
I don't know. Hull City's in Scarborough, so we've now got a derby with Hull. Yeah, that's right.
Are they still in his job?
Spartans. Yeah,
Blythe Spartans are in. Yes, Blythe Spartans are in. Well, obviously they got them right geographically, but Blythe Spartans, well done, Croft Park. You've made it to the Wrexham map. I love it.
It's the biggest logo on the whole thing as well, Blythe Spartans. You've done well. You've obviously had a subject on them, so. I don't know, Steve, who did it. Obviously, it's Netflix producers and stuff like that, but I will put it up on my social media. Maybe we can put it up on the radio social media so you can all have a look and laugh.
I'll get it done now while we're talking.
It is hilarious. It is hilarious to see where they've put some of these clubs. Steve, Sunderland didn't even get a nod.
Didn't even get on the map, yeah. I mean, it's a pity we haven't got Ted with us this morning, but I'm sure he'd have something to say about that. Maybe he'd suggest that the smog from Middlesbrough covered the Sunderland badge or something like that. But
he did actually. That's exactly what he said.
I can imagine he would. Well, that would be what I would have said. That's what I would have said. I'm going to be honest.
So I just want to know how Newcastle's feeling about their upcoming derby with Fleetwood Town. Whenever that happens, obviously Fleetwood Town put next to Newcastle as well.
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I don't know whether it's by the sea or whether it's by a forest now or what. But I mean, the one thing, it'll make going to away games that you've been to before interesting because you'll be going to completely different parts of the country. The coach drivers might struggle a little bit with directions.
I do, yeah.
We used to run coaches to away games, and we're probably going to restart them on the Red. So heaven knows who we're going to be playing, where we're going to be, and what time we have to leave. The nearest pub. We'll drive to the nearest pub to the ground. So for Brentford, we'll be in Carlisle, and the game will be in London. So there you go. It's going to cause problems.
Man, the Wales trips for us with Cardiff and Swansea now just got even longer, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Now we got to go down to Devon, for goodness sake.
We've got one of our favourite topics on this show, and as always, lads, it's not on the list. But because we've had that much breaking news overnight.
We have, haven't we?
Anybody watch the Scotland game?
Oh, where's Macca when you need him? I tell you,
let me leave now. I know where he's going.
I'm not being funny, lads. This is another cock-up by
Burn it at the stake.
Burn it at the stake.
Dave, you need ex-players.
Something's been lost. Something's been lost.
That's the funniest thing you've said. Not.
Something's been lost in translation here, because honestly, that was just bonkers. That Scott McTominay scores an absolute worldie, 0-0. Oh. There's nobody offside. There's no foul on. Don't tell me that was a foul on the goalkeeper. Do not tell me that's what that was scratched off for. And he wasn't offside, and we didn't see where the lines were drawn. So sometimes we see like it's like A-level maths, like like the trajectory of the ball and loads of lines all over the screen. Other times we see absolutely nothing, and I think when we see absolutely nothing, there's been a cock-up. But he wasn't offside, and he wasn't interfering, and he didn't knock the guy in. He didn't knock the guy into the goal. The goalkeeper didn't get knocked into the goal. So what? Tell me what was wrong with that goal last night. McTominay scored an absolute worldie. If you didn't see it, from a free kick, curled it in beautifully, and it was disallowed through VAR. I do not understand. And of course, that means Spain went on to win the game. They won 2-0, and ultimately they've now got to wait for their qualification. I just can't believe it, lads. I just simply put ban VAR. It just needs to be. They've got to stop it. They've got to stop it because they're ruining the game. They're ruining the game for everybody, spectators and footballers alike. And referees are getting the blame for this. It's the people using the VAR technology. They're not using it correctly for whatever it means. And I beggars belief, right? I mean that goal. That goal there was nothing wrong with it.
Nah, it was a brilliant goal, and what a hit! I've seen it from multiple angles, and it was an absolute wonder. Worldly, Scott McTominay's never going to hit one of them again in his life, and if he does, I tell you, and it's literally incredible because VAR, like they always do, they wanted to review the goal, and then they've said that it was disallowed because there was a foul on a certain player. And then after the match, VAR came out and said, actually, it was because the other player was offside. So they've changed the reason the goal was disallowed twice, right? So they firstly said that they're going to that it was a foul, and then secondly, it was the players offside. So absolutely ridiculous from the whole VAR system there. And then what made it worse for Scotland as well? Their anguish obviously compounded by the Spain, who are in their group, won in the closing moments. So Spain won. So you got Group A now, and Spain have just closed the gap. Scotland were obviously on 15 points, top of Group A. Spain is second, who are now on 12 points. It could now cost nations. We're not talking clubs now. We're talking nations. We're talking a whole country being affected by VAR. You got the whole of Scotland now up in arms against the VAR. Do you know what I mean? Forget ex-players. Now they want, politicians in there. You know what I mean? So you can have prime ministers in there in the VAR room with the ex-players now, because it's ridiculous. And it's nothing wrong with that goal. I'm not an expert, and I'm sorry, but there's nothing wrong with that goal. And it has ruined what was an amazing goal for What an amazing goal for Scotland. It would have gotten them through to the Euros, obviously, as well. Now they're just sitting there baffled. And what made it worse for Scotland as well was Andrew Robertson. I don't know if you guys saw, but Andrew Robertson had to come off as well. So Andrew Robertson's come off with a serious-looking shoulder injury. And he's had to come off, and then Scott McTominay still steps up and does that. Dave, please tell me that we can burn it at the stake tomorrow.
I would have burned it at the stake last week, mate. It's making the game a farce. That's what it's doing. It's now, because what it's doing is it's focusing attention in a big way on a single point in the game, a decision in the game. So people are going to remember that match for the VAR cock-up. They're not going to remember the match because it was Scotland battling Italy for Scotland to qualify. If they'd have got the result last night, they would have qualified. And that's what's happening. So it's a focus on that. It's a focus on error rather than a decent game of football, a bit of skill, something positive. It really is just shifting the focus on football, high-profile football games, into the negative environment rather than the positive environment. And with all the cock-ups we're getting, the delays we're getting to the game, the loss of atmosphere we're getting, the loss of emotion when goals are scored, or are they? And then you've got to spend 3 minutes rifling through loads of video. It doesn't, and I said this from day one, it doesn't fit the natural flow of the game. Rugby, there are pauses. Cricket, there are pauses. Just about every other game where technologies come in, there are pauses. Tennis, the same. Football, there aren't pauses. You can have quick free kicks. The game can be flowing. It's got to be an instant solution to the problem in football, and VAR just isn't that. Burn it at the stake.
We need to get rid of it because it's costing nations now. Do you know what I mean? It's literally costing nations, countries, positions.
But
in
they won't get rid of it. They won't get rid of it.
It's no, they're not going.
And I'll tell you for 2 reasons.
We're going to see more and more of this. It's just wild.
Yeah, 2 reasons why they won't get rid of it. This was FIFA's pet project. They've now developed VAR Lite for those competitions that can't afford the full-on VAR experience. So they're now rolling out VAR Lite, which uses less cameras, which is affordable at lower leagues and lower competition level.
Like getting a salad from McDonald's.
Hey, that's one reason. But the other reason is there's so much money involved in it now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean,
for them to pull the plug, it's impossible.
Imagine that costs Scotland now the qualifying. You know what I mean? Into Euro. I don't know what that costs as a nation or what it's worth in the Euros, and maybe someone out there on the WhatsApp can get in touch with what it's worth to a country. I mean, but there's got to be if Scotland were to obviously make it through to qualification, there's got to be some sort of prize pool there as for Scotland football or for Scotland. They get there, and imagine that the VAR now for whatever reason costs Scotland the chance to get in, and it's like it's ridiculous. It is so ridiculous that we're now seeing it.
This is the problem, right? Though it's not gonna change. Liverpool and Spurs will keep going back to it, but the game's not gonna get replayed. The goal's not gonna count. Last night, Scotland lost 2-0. I mean, they'll have to be really unlucky that not to qualify. They've still got more than a couple of chances to go through without even kicking the ball. So that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna change. It's not going to change, and
But could it be the difference between
spend so much money on it? But
could it be the difference between winning the group and not?
Yeah, well, It might be, yeah.
It could be
It might
now.
be, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it could be now.
it can affect,
I mean,
can affect
Scotland
them
now
in that way,
15
yeah.
points.
Definitely.
Spain, after their late win last night, now 12 points in second. So, and Spain is still a game to play. So, yeah, definitely. They've got the goal difference, does Spain. You know what I mean? So, it's.
I tell you what as well.
Yeah, look.
It just needs to be sorted out worldwide. But the Premier League's our main concern, and in this one, it needs to be sorted out. It's a mess. It really is. I've just got to mention as well. Newcastle United fans are going absolutely bonkers again on social media, and rightly so, because ticketing is something which we talk about intermittently. And once again, yesterday morning, trying to get tickets for the Dortmund game. So anyone who wanted to try and get a ticket to go to Dortmund yesterday, 3,900 tickets available. So you go online to get the tickets. Big announcement: tickets going on sale 10 o'clock in the morning. So you go onto the website. Now, Newcastle United's website, you've got nufc.co.uk, but you have to go to a separate website to book your tickets. book.nufc.uk.co.uk. It's ludicrous. They're running two sites parallel with each other. So you can sign in and register on the official website, but to get tickets you have to go into this other website, which is part of the same website. It's bonkers. So anyway, they announced yesterday that they are going to put on sale at 10 o'clock in the morning 3,900 tickets for the Dortmund Champions League away game. They also put on sale at the same time the remaining tickets for the home game. So you had this stupid situation yesterday where you ended up with, and I went online, 29,500 people queuing at one point at 10:05 in the morning, trying to get tickets for the away game at the same time that people are trying to get tickets for the home game. So you were going onto the section on the tickets on the website, clicking away tickets, scrolling down past Crystal Palace or whatever it was, past Manchester United in the Carabao Cup. You selected Dortmund, you clicked on add, you added it, and then it took you into the queue for the home game. So this went on. It took half an hour yesterday to actually get an away ticket to get the away ticket sorted out, and literally it was only just by messing around, by refreshing the page. I was in 10 different WhatsApp groups yesterday. People asking questions. What do you do? I can't get my ticket. This is ridiculous. Other people saying, "Oh well, I managed to get it." Clear your history in your internet browser. Refresh it 20 times. Go back 15 times. So literally all of these things that you had to do to try and get a ticket yesterday. Now, I just don't know why Newcastle United haven't sorted this problem out, because this hasn't just happened yesterday. This has been going on since August. People are absolutely sick and tired of it. The other thing people are sick and tired of, John Joe on Twitter yesterday, me and my dad have been season ticket holders for 19 years. We've been moved seats due to UEFA's allocation to row E, which is on a walkway and is restricted view for all 3 games. I rang up today and we couldn't move them, but our seats are on sale today for £400 on ticket sites. The ticket fiasco absolutely stinks. I'm not going to Dortmund at home. I'm selling me tickets because I can't say a thing. It's a joke, whilst our seats and the surrounding area are getting sold for 9 times the value. And I'm not one to go and believe somebody just because they say stuff on Twitter. But I did do a little research yesterday, and I'm not going to name the site because I don't want to give them any business. But there is a site which I found yesterday: Newcastle United versus Borussia Dortmund. Tickets available, 219 tickets at £185 a ticket. And these tickets, I went through the process of trying to, as if I was going to buy one, and you can select the seat, and this guy is right. Those tickets in that area are all on sale on an inflated ticket site for ridiculous prices. 185 was the cheapest, £400 was the dearest. This has got to stop, Newcastle United. This is an absolute farce, and Newcastle fans are rightly annoyed about it. Anybody would, because there's 2 things happening here. either fans who can't go to the game are finding a way of forwarding their ticket to somebody who is in charge of this. But the amount of tickets that are on there, 219 tickets, there's too many people. There's too many people putting tickets over to this particular firm. What are they getting out of it? Are they getting a cut of this? And the only way that you can do, squash these kind of ticket touts, because this is what this is, ticket touting. What they need to do is the football club, Darren Eales, needs to come out and explain. He's disappeared. He's disappeared since the start of the season. He is in charge of this kind of thing at the football club, and he needs to come out and explain what on earth is going on, because it's not fair on Newcastle United fans, especially those people who have paid for a membership, Dave. There are estimated between 30 and 40,000 people have paid £38 to become a member at Newcastle United, to go in a ballot for a ticket, which most of them have never got a chance of winning. You've got more chance of winning the lottery than you've got of winning a ticket for Newcastle at the moment. There's so many things wrong with it, Dave. The system's terrible. There's somebody selling tickets, somebody selling tickets somewhere, and it's ended up as a ticket tout issue, which is apparently what this is all about to stop.
This is going to be fans who enter the ballots. They try and get their tickets for one reason, which is they know they can cash in, and they'll be selling these tickets to these sites. It's how did touts in the old days when you had paper tickets? How did they get it? They got them from fans who bought tickets to make a profit and not go to the game, and that's what needs to be stamped out. Any fans found doing that should be banned from football.
Yeah, there should be.
If you're buying a ticket,
there should be legal action.
If you're buying a ticket as a fan and you don't intend to use it for that purpose, and all your full intention is just to rip somebody off in terms of how much they're going to have to pay a tout or a ticket retail site at hugely inflated prices, they should be named and shamed and banned from football. End of story. The same happens in music. And I think it was Ed Sheeran. I think Ed Sheeran took some action against fans, didn't he? Didn't he cancel a huge amount of tickets for one of his gigs and reissue them? Yeah. All tickets were scanned when he found out something similar had happened. So, those dodgy tickets that had been flogged at ridiculous prices, didn't pass the scanners when they got into the arena. And I think this is exactly the same.
I reiterate, Dave, I'm asking what is going on. And the communication from the football club has been brilliant since the owners came in 2 years ago. But there is a deafening silence on these ticket issues. Newcastle United Supporters Trust and Newcastle United Supporters Club are both, they both claim that they've been in meetings, which they have, I would imagine. People from those particular organisations have been at those meetings and they've talked to the representatives of the football club. But there's a deafening silence. And even they're coming out now on social media and saying, what on earth is going on? What is happening here? Why are we not getting any answers? And this is what I'm saying. We need some answers on this ticket. You just need even a line from Darren Eales this weekend saying, we get it. There's an issue here. We're on it. We're looking at it, and we're going to stop it. That's what we need to hear. And at the moment, all you're seeing is online is people saying, "I don't even know why I bought a membership. It's a waste of time." There's a suggestion that there's potentially 35, 36, 37,000 members. We don't know. It would be nice to know how many members they are, and would like to know. The fans would like to know how many tickets are actually up for grabs for those members, because at the moment people are just speculating. It doesn't do anybody any good. People are suggesting there's, say, 38,000 members and 4,000 tickets up for grabs, but the law of averages would suggest at some point you're going to get a ticket. But what happens because of social media is you're seeing some people going, well, that's my fourth ticket I've got in the ballot, and then you're getting other people are going, well, I've never had a ticket yet. So it's not conducive to a good relationship. In fact, what it is divide and conquer, and it's not good for a fan base when you're dividing and conquering supporters. And like I say, this whole change of ticketing has come as a bit of a shock to Newcastle fans, and we're ultimately a lot of people are saying, well, look, we'll go with it, but we haven't got much choice. But I think when it starts affecting people's match day experience, or affecting their season, then I think it becomes a major issue. And I was with a lad yesterday who's had a season ticket for nearly as long as I have, and he's just saying, I'm sick of the whole thing. He says it's actually ruining it's ruining my whole, my match day experience. It's ruining this season for me. He says, because there's certain games, away games I'm struggling to get tickets for, and this, that, and the other. And he says it's not what it was. It's disappointing. And I mean, if there's anyone got any issues out there, text in, message in, be interested to hear what people have got to say about this particular issue. And it probably happens at other clubs, but for me personally, I'm only concerned about what's happening at Newcastle.
It's such a shame as well, because it's obviously one of Newcastle's biggest season. Obviously, the biggest return to Champions League, Carabao Cup, and Premier League football at the moment. And what should be one of the momental seasons for Newcastle, and the big return, obviously, and getting back into these competitions is now marred by this ticket scandal, and fans that have been through the thick and thin. You keep talking, to us, Steve, about the Mike Ashley era. Fans have been through so much. Yuck with Mike Ashley and Steve Bruce and all that sort of era, to come now to finally have turned a page and to see, like you've said many a time, the reward now for the season under Eddie Howe, the reward for all the players' hard work, and the fans are the ones still suffering. It just blows my mind that that's still out there, and you can't be scalping off good hardworking fans.
No, absolutely
what I mean?
not.
It's just disgusting. And if we're looking at, we said at the start, if we're looking at Tonali getting in trouble for betting, we're looking at Ivan Toney in trouble for betting. These scalpers should have the absolute book thrown at them. The people that are exactly what Dave said, the people that are taking money, buying tickets and with no intention of actually going to the game to sell them for profit is disgusting. And if you're out there and you are affected, make sure you get on the WhatsApp. You can WhatsApp us on 0330 043 2002. And if you've been affected, we'd love to hear from you. And give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from Newcastle fans this morning who haven't been able to get a ticket, because the big problem here, Steve, you've been talking about this now for I was going to say a week, but you brought it up.
Blue in the face.
You brought it up prior to that. Ticketing, just ticketing, and the situation surrounding Newcastle games. Whether it is Dortmund, whether it is the next game in the league, or whether it's been previous. The membership scheme. Mate, so many people, and I don't troll Newcastle United social media sites. I just don't.
Yeah.
But I have seen comments picked up, certainly on the Toon radio station's social media, and the followings that go on there. I am picking up Newcastle fans are not happy. They hate the ballot. Exactly what you said. I got 4. That's 5 out of 7 for me. And other people are going, I haven't got a single one yet. And I have seen the messages you mentioned yesterday about, I've given up. I'm going to get the tinnies in with me, mate, some food, and we're going to watch it on TV. So there's an issue there. There's an issue that has to be addressed, and it would be great for a forward-thinking club to be able to come out on the front foot and say, this is how it is. We've got a problem, we haven't got a problem, whatever they want to say, but just communicate it.
That's the big problem, communication. And that's something which these new owners have been good at. They have been good at. Yeah. I think it's changed when they put other people in positions. Do you know what I mean? And it's like that's just a learning curve. I guess it really is. And like I say, I'm not going to start hammering at the club's door and that's not my job. My job's to comment on it and speak about it and try to be a critical friend, which is very important. But the Supporters Trust and the Supporters Club, who are the biggest fans organisations within our fan base, they need to really get some answers on this. They need to get back. We used to have a fans forum. Forum where there was representation from all the different groups within our fan base. Whether it be NUDSA, the Newcastle United Disabled Supporters Association, whether it was United with Pride, whether it was the Supporters Trust, etc., and everybody could send along a representative. They would go to a meeting, they would sit there, they would talk to officials from the club, and they would highlight various problems. And what came from those meetings was minutes. It was an agreed set of minutes from the club and from the organisations, and they released them in tandem. Now, they don't do that anymore, and the fans forum was changed to an personal invite. So you would get an email. We are going to have a meeting about ticketing. at the start of the season. If you would like to come to this meeting, please send your interest via email. We'll get back to you. Needless to say, I got numerous emails back because I put myself forward for 3 out of 4 of these, and needless to say, I got an email back saying unfortunately I haven't been successful. I wonder why. But ultimately, the other people who went to these meetings came back. You saw various comments on social media from the meetings, but there's been no minutes. Now, there should be some minutes. We should, as supporters, we should know what's been said there. Not picking up loose tittle-tattle and dribs and drabs on social media. What we should have is a set of minutes which explains who was there, what they discussed, what questions were asked, and just explain. That's all you want. It's all you want is a little bit of transparency. So, like I say, I'm on my high horse about this, as you can tell. But it's something which needs to be sorted out. Because when you divide and conquer supporters, it creates uneasiness in the fan base, and it creates divides which last for a long time. And believe you me, I know, because I still have divides between certain sets of supporters that I've grown up with over various issues over the years. So you need to sort it out, Newcastle. You need to sort it out. And when you're seeing good fans say, I've been moved. Yes, we know UEFA have to have an allocation. We know people get moved. And I guess I know you can't keep everybody happy, but at the same time, it's not fair and it's not right when these tickets are now appearing on a site which is being which is selling them at an extortionate value.
Disgusting.
Get it sorted out, get it stamped out, and come out and say something, and you'll nip this in the bud straight away. It's a bit of advice from me to Newcastle United this morning.
Well,
listen up, Newcastle. All right, you've got Steve Wraith angry at you. Get it sorted. Well, in other news, lads, the player of the month and manager of the month has been announced, and can we get a drum roll? Because Messiah Rai is back at it. Messiah Rai is back at it, and it is exactly what I said. Manager of the month for the EFL Championship is Kieran McKenna of Ipswich Town, and the player of the month is Jack Clark from Sunderland. So there you go, Mackems. Jack Clark has won player of the month, announced this morning by Sky Bet Championship. That manager of the month is Kieran McKenna from Ipswich Town, which was a clear winner for me. He has won it over Mogga. I am sorry, Sunderland fans. But you have won player of the month, and Jack Clark standing there presented with his trophy this morning. So congratulations to Jack Clark. Congratulations to Kieran McKenna. Both awarded player and manager of the month respectively for September.
I've just opened Daz's box of nonsense here, and is Jack Clark winning it worthy of applause?
Well, maybe. Go on.
Yeah, okay, enough of that. Get off.
Lads, I've got to ask you, have you got any superstitions? Because it is Friday the 13th, lads.
0.
It is. You don't have any?
I'm boring. I'm boring on this one. 0. No superstitions.
Yeah?
Now, don't put the same socks on. Don't use the same scarf.
Even when you were a referee?
No. I mean, it's not a superstition. My preparation was always the same, but that's because that was my preparation for a game. But it didn't involve sticking a toad down my pants or anything like that. It was, there was no superstitions.
Really?
I'm trying to think if there's anything. Now, I'm really boring when it comes to superstitions. I'll see a ladder and I don't care. I'll walk under it. I do all that sort of, see a black cat, so what? Hello, putty cat. Are you going to be friendly?
No.
Sorry,
don't put
boys.
that karma on us. I don't want that karma on us.
Really boring. Really
keep that bad
boring.
karma to yourself.
Right, what about you? Have you got any superstitions?
Yeah, I have heaps, mate. I got heaps. The biggest ones came from when I was in Afghanistan. When I was serving in Afghanistan, obviously going out, in the military there, I used to have all my gear when we went out on patrol and stuff like that. I had to have certain things in certain areas. I had to wear the certain
What's going on there?
Yes,
That's
a
Darren.
month in
Get
which
off.
we pay tribute to one of America's.
That's Darren's box of nonsense kicking into action. Now we are getting spooky. I didn't press a button. I did not press a button.
Hey, I don't walk under ladders, and then we've been attacked on the radio. Hey, what is going on?
What is going on? Okay.
You don't walk under ladders,
All right, I was saying I was saying, when I go on patrol, I had to have the same socks. I had to have my helmet on a certain way with the strap done up. I had to have I had a picture of my mum and dad in my chest pocket. It had to be on my left chest pocket as well. And I had my certain gadgets on my rifle had to be on the right side of the rifle. It always had to be on the right. It couldn't be on the left yet. You could set up the rifle however you wanted it. Mine always had to be on the right. It was just, I don't know what it was. It was just, that was, what would get me through. And I was very superstitious. And then when I played sport as well, I was much the same as well. I was always the last to take my training jacket off. So had to be the last one to take my jacket off before I went on the pitch. And I always had to touch the grass. As soon as I walked onto the pitch, wherever it was, I'd always have to touch the grass. What about you, Steve? Any?
Spooky.
I don't eat yellow snow for obvious reasons.
Yep, that's a big one.
Good one.
That's a big one. Yeah.
I've got to be honest, my kids, they've had me like leaping over 3 drain covers for a reason. They say that if you walk over 3 drain covers, the triple drain covers, then that brings bad luck. Don't walk under signs is a new one that kids use as well.
I've done that many times.
Don't walk under signs. I used to dodge ladders. I used to dodge walking under ladders. I mean, very rarely do you see you setting ladders up against a set of a side of a house. But that used to be a key one as well for me. But yeah, I mean, it seems to have died a death. Friday the 13th used to be something that you used to say, I'm not going out the house, didn't you? Because just in case. But it is a strange one, Friday the 13th. But yeah, that's probably my superstitions, lads. There is
a few people that believe in it for sure, and black cats and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, no, it is out there for sure. But yeah, I was always superstitious before doing something, I guess, and obviously being in the military for that sort of stuff, I always just, I don't know, I guess it was a sense of security, like a security blanket for me. In the military, making sure that I had this in order. And it kind of, I guess, you know what it was as well, and someone once said it to me, it was probably taking my mind off the fact what I was about to go and have to do or get through. And I think it was a little bit of that as well. So, but it was also in sport as well. It took my mind off getting nervous or the mental side of it sort of thing. But you see it a lot in sports stars. A lot of sports stars are very superstitious in terms of the socks and everything they wear. They won this game, they hit this this goal, from this far out because they were wearing these types of undies and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it is a big thing. It is a big thing.
It's a big thing in football because people do change the way they go. I've done that before. If Newcastle have won a game after a run where they've lost a couple of games, and I've walked a particular way to the home game, then I've kept that particular way. Yeah, but I do know people who wear a particular hat or shirt or scarf because they're that lucky. So that does happen. But yeah, I think football fans are probably more a superstitious bunch than other people, and I guess players do it as well. I mean, Paul Ince is one that stands out. He used to always come out with his top off. You used to see him play for Man United in England. He would always come out last with his top off. Certain players like to come out first. I just want little things that I guess gets into someone's mind. Googling where Friday the 13th came from, I thought it would be something quite exciting, but it's quite boring. and it essentially comes from a Norse myth, which is about 12 gods having a dinner party in Valhalla. The trickster god Loki, who wasn't invited, arrived as the 13th guest and arranged for Hua to shoot Balder with a mistletoe-tipped arrow. Balder died and the whole earth got dark, so then the earth mourned and it was a bad and unlucky day. So it's an event in Norse mythology which caused the number 13 to be considered unlucky. The conjunction with Friday, well, that's not really proven. That came from some kind of 19th century story, but it's the unlucky 13 really, which is where we'll get it from. Crazy. I thought it would have been more exciting.
There's a few players that choose to wear the number 13 as well, aren't they? Just to break that sort of thing. I know there's been a few goalkeepers and stuff like that have chosen to wear the number 13. One of the teams here in the AFL that I follow, the Adelaide Crows, our captain was number 13 for years. And he said, it just got rid of his superstitions. But one of the best ones I remember was John Terry. When John Terry was playing, I remember he had about 50 when he came out. And I remember him being interviewed about him one. I remember he had to listen to the same Usher CD on the way in the car. He had to park in the same spot. He had to sit in the same seat on the team bus. And then he had to tie his the gaffer tape around his socks 3 times. And he cut the tubular grip for his shin pads exactly the same length every time. So there was John Terry was wild with those. So yeah, there are some players that fully believe in it, and it's as we close in here on the news. It's if you got any, let us know on the WhatsApp. And Friday the 13th, everyone stay safe out there. And if I could give you a good word of advice, well, stay away from Dave Roberts. Because he doesn't care, and he's very unlucky. So you're gonna have to stay away from him today.
I've broken every superstition, rule, or suggestion there is going, and nothing's happened to me, other than being
stay with Dave.
Other than being a Borough fan.
Surely knocking around with Dave on Friday the 13th is probably safer because he clearly hasn't had any issues.
True.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You can knock around with me anytime, no problem.
Yeah,
I'm not proud.
There was also 13 people at the table of the Last Supper, lads. The 13th was Jesus. So they are for a religious connotation, lads.
And the baker's dozen's 13 buns, isn't it? So I don't know where they get that from. Yep. Why do they do that? Maybe they're all cursed.
I don't know why that is. Yeah, I don't know why that is.
And I'm just reading further in this. The Last Supper was on a Thursday, and the next day was Friday. So the day of crucifixion. When 13 and Friday come together, it's a double whammy. So you see, these little wormholes I take you down, lads. And listeners, it's an educational thing. From bogies to wax to the Last Supper.
Yeah.
Where else do you get that on a morning when you're having your cornflakes?
Yeah. I think it's time for the news, fellas. We'll be back across the northeast it is the northeast footy breakfast, even though we're not talking about footy. At least we haven't done for the last 6 minutes.
It could be the foot and mouth breakfast at times, but there we go.
Of course. That's next.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swalwell to Silverlink, Steve and Rye. The Northeast Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the tune and the cat.
Unmistakable Oasis. Woo! Champagne Supernova. And I'll let you into a little secret.
Song.
Rye turned his speakers up and he was blasting it. Blasting it out he was. Yeah,
I had it going and I was singing and headbanging, and then Dave just lets us know when we're coming back, and he scared me. I jumped out of my seat
Friday the 13th.
And then Dave
That's what it
in
is.
my ears.
Hang on, where's me spooky music?
Good song, though. Good song.
Me spooky music on. This is spooky music.
Perfect for Friday the 13th.
There we
lads,
go.
perfect.
That's better. That's better. Spooky music. All I need now is some sort of clockwork doll with scary eyes walking down the corridor looking at me. Yeah, well, Friday the 13th it is. You know what we haven't done, don't you, fellas? We haven't even done the news headlines for the clubs.
Oh my, we haven't. Yeah, we haven't.
We normally do that the first hour.
Trying to avoid them.
Oh, we're all over the shop. What is new? You'd think it was well produced. No, absolutely not. So, are we going to do it? Are we going to do the news headlines?
Yeah, we can do it. I'm happy to start off if you need me to.
Oh, you want to do Borough? Let's go with the Borough then.
I do.
Hit it.
All right, let's get it. Good morning, Borough fans. Happy Friday. Hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. Well, in overnight news for the Borough, Hayden Hackney has played the full 90 minutes as England's under-21 smashed 9 goals past Serbia in the European Championship qualification. Lee Carsley's side are holders of the competition after lifting the trophy in Georgia over the summer, but only captain Cole Palmer and goalkeeper James Trafford remained from that side in tonight's qualifier. That was played last night. I apologise. Borough midfielder Hackney then also played in full 90 minutes, remarkably completing 99% of his passes, young Hayden. He is an absolute gem. Watch out for him. And Lee Carsley also saying he was an absolute incredible performance by Hayden Hackney in the centre of midfield. So look out, England, because you got Hayden Hackney coming through. And Michael Carrick has also commented on how underrated Johnny Howson is and the importance that Middlesbrough have. on Johnny Howson. Although Howson now 35, he continues to set such high standards in a Borough t-shirt. Injuries, illness have limited his game time so far this season, but his most recent outing at Watford was a timely reminder of just how good the Borough skipper can still be. And while long-term there's an appreciation at Borough that we must find a replacement for Howson eventually, as much as a compliment is too important as anything else in the short term, Carrick insists he still has a huge role to play. Carrick said, Johnny has been terrific, and I think he and Hayden do fantastic things together in terms of control and dominating that midfield. I also look to see that Hayden Hackney is taking at least one page from Johnny Howson, as he thinks Hayden Hackney's performance and future can always be lent on the success that Johnny Howson and the teachings of Johnny Howson. With Hayden and Dan Ballasser as well, who also have done well recently, and Lewis O'Brien to come back in a couple of months, we feel like we've now got a really good mix in there, and Johnny is stable and sets the example and quality for the whole squad. That is your Middlesbrough news. It is all Hayden Hackney related, Borough fans. He's an absolute star, and if anyone wants him, it's 500 mil. Call me in the morning.
Okay, let's work our way up from the Championship to the Premier League. Sunderland news first. Former Black Cats chairman Sir Bob Murray is doing a book signing session at the Stadium of Light later today. Sir Bob has released his brand new autobiography, I'd Do It All Again. The former Sunderland owner will be signing at the club store from 12 noon. All proceeds from the book sales and associated donations will go to the Foundation of Light, which is Sunderland's official charity. As you heard earlier, Jack Clarke has won the Sky Bet Championship Player of the Month award for September. The winger fired in 6 goals in 5 games as Tony Mowbray's side climbed up to 4th in the table. Clarke began September with goals in victories over Southampton and Queen's Park Rangers before netting braces in away wins at Blackburn Rovers and Sheffield Wednesday. And Joe Bellingham has been praised heavily by fans on social media after his performance for the England under-19s. England drew 0-0 with Montenegro in the European Championship qualifying game, which was a disappointing result for the team. But Bellingham's performance saw fans taking to social media to compare him with his Real Madrid brother Jude. On to Newcastle.
Season ticket holders can now purchase tickets for Newcastle United's Champions League trip to Borussia Dortmund on Tuesday the 7th of November. The initial likely point threshold was 80 points. It's reducing to 70 and that'll reduce further this morning and then 4 p.m. Each weekday until sold out. A separate ballot will then take place. Newcastle haven't specified their allocation, but we understand that it's around 3,900. Attempts are ongoing to secure a further allocation of tickets. Calvin Phillips has once again been linked with a move to Newcastle United. The midfielder who played against Newcastle United in their Carabao Cup defeat was linked with the move to the Magpies in the summer. And Newcastle United's Sandro Tonali and Aston Villa's Nicolo Zaniolo have been released from the Italy squad after the Turin Public Prosecutor's Office conducted an investigation into the players. The Italian Federation confirmed in a statement that Tonali and Zaniolo had left the squad ahead of the game against Malta and England. An Italian news agency ANSA reported that both players had been questioned as part of a betting probe. That is your Newcastle headlines today.
Steve and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
The Cat, the Tune and the Red.
Okay, fellas, where are we going next? What are we doing next? I mean, we did bogies, we did spookies, we did all kinds of things with E's on the end.
I've got one which Rai put up yesterday. I was going to say, Rai, you put one in yesterday, which I think is a good one, just to get people involved on the text, which was, if you had to sign one player from one of the other North East teams, which player would you choose and why?
You're gonna have to. We got to do this. We got to do this with you got to bite the tongue a little bit, don't you? Because I don't know if you'd want to see. I mean, I feel like for Sunderland and Middlesbrough especially, I mean, you take a Newcastle player in a heartbeat. The way they're going at the moment, the upwards of Champions League. You take a youngster out there, and I think that would be quite beneficial when they're a league above, and understandably. But taking a player from Sunderland at the moment, I'd have to. It'd come with a bit of a sting. I think I'd have to say at the moment, I'd probably take Hume. I'd probably take Dan Hume, I reckon. I just think, obviously, in that wing back role, we're just lacking on that right back. We got Tommy Smith, obviously of age. Edgick's still out with injury. On the left as well, we've got Engel and Bangura new to the championship, so we could use a Dan Hume or something like that, I reckon. But I tell you what, I don't want it, and and I say it through gritted teeth. But from Newcastle, who would I want from Newcastle? I mean, I'd take Anthony Gordon. I think I'd take an Anthony Gordon in a heartbeat, and I think he'd fit into Carrick's playing style quite well, actually. So if you're listening, Anthony, I know you're a good listener of the show. I'm happy to have you down at the Borough, mate. And call me if you need the arrangements or anything set up, because I'm happy to look after it. So I'd take Anthony Gordon in a heartbeat.
For me, I would take Chris Rigg from Sunderland, and his family are all Geordies, centre forward. I think he's somebody who could be developed as well. I think, he's proved his loyalty as well to Sunderland. They've given him an opportunity, and he hasn't like walked out on them when Newcastle was sniffing around, the early part of the summer. So I think Chris Rigg would be me Sunderland.
Oh, Steve's gone.
Oh
No,
he was just about to say the Borough player.
it's Friday the 13th.
It's Friday the 13th. He's now dipped. What's going on? You've cursed us, Dave. All of you say, I walk under any ladder I want, says Dave Roberts as he scares us with music and cuts Steve Wraith off mid-sentence.
I didn't touch a thing.
It's you and your ladders.
Hang on. Here we go. We've got to have that spooky music. What on earth is going on?
Oh, my goodness. Well, there you go.
Steve.
He'd take Rigg. I wonder who he's going to say from the Borough.
I know.
Who do you reckon he would have taken?
He's back. Well, we'll find
He's
out
back?
now.
I reckon he'll take it. I reckon it'll be Hayden Hackney.
Let me get it back into the system.
Friday the 13th. What are you doing, lads?
I told you, it's Dave, mate.
You just disappeared,
Dave's
mate.
out here.
You went on
You've
it.
kicked us off, Dave. You've kicked us off because you knew what I was saying.
I walk under any ladder I want.
Yeah, well, there you go. End of spooky music.
So you kicked us off because you did you hear that I'd signed Chris Rigg from Sunderland?
We heard that you'd signed Chris Rigg from
We heard
Sunderland,
that.
and as soon as you turned to signing somebody from the Borough, off you went.
Yeah, that's you both kicked us off.
You left us in suspenders, mate.
Because what I said was I would sign Riley McGree, and I'd get him to make the teas and coffees for Eddie Howe at his press conferences just to upset you, right?
See,
that's it.
The gods transpired. The gods transpired to get him off for heresy.
Unbelievable.
Get him off again.
Go on then, Ray. You had some breaking news. You had some breaking news for us anyway.
I did have some breaking news for us here in Australia, guys. And obviously, we have got England v Australia tonight in the football. It's just a friendly. But Graham Arnold has been using it. Graham Arnold, if you don't know, is the coach of the Socceroos. That is the team we call Australia. I know we're quite clever with our nicknames. Thank me later. But Graham Arnold has come out and used the platform that he's got, obviously, with England. A lot of media surrounding this more than ever. A lot of media markets here in Australia covering England and Australia as well. So Graham Arnold has used it to have a bit of a crack at our current Prime Minister. And he's used it quite extraordinarily. Graham Arnold has come out and said the following, right? Which is, this is just going to... it's just going to brew and brew and brew. And I've spoken about it. I've spoken about it on the show a couple of times about, obviously... what happens here in Australia and how football is still so far behind and stuff like that. But Graham Arnold has said, we don't get anywhere near the help and resources of Australian rules football. That is our local code. We see the Prime Minister and the government say they love coming out to watch the Socceroos and Matildas with scarves on, but they must lose those scarves when they get home because then we don't hear anything from them. We don't have a home of football. Whether you believe that or not, we don't have a home. When the Socceroos come to Sydney or to Australia to train for an international game, we have to go to a rugby league field where they remove the posts and put up soccer posts for us. That's the truth. We are the highest participator sport at grassroots sport in Australia, and the last 4 days England have been at St George's Park, and they come down to Wembley where they are inspired and have a culture. We have nothing like that. After the World Cup, I said to the nation, hopefully this will make things change and that the government funding will help inspire the kids' lives and fulfill their dreams. But with the current Prime Minister, the current government having nothing to do with us, how can I say that any longer? So that, lads, has absolutely sent shockwaves, obviously, through Australia. Funny enough, the majority of Australia is on board for it as well. We know that there's not enough funding for the Socceroos, for Matildas, for football. I've said this time and time again. You can't have players like Riley McGree who would, walk into a Newcastle United squad. There you go, Steve. And come fly all the way 18 hours down to Australia to play a game of football and have to have an ice bath in his hotel room. It's just not on. It's just they are high performance athletes. And to see still no funding for the Socceroos, no field, no home grounds, nothing, no training areas, it's just disgusting. It really is. And through all the success the Socceroos have had in even getting out of the group qualifiers in the World Cup, the Matildas, one game short of the Women's World Cup final against England. Do you know what I mean? Like we are doing so well as a nation of footballers under a government that doesn't care about this sport. And it goes to show you, like, I'm an Aussie through and through. I was born here, I was raised here, and I follow Middlesbrough on the other side of the world. They're my club and team. I don't have one here in Australia. I don't, because it's not here in Australia. I am the classic example of this. I am absolutely Middlesbrough through and through because my country has let down the sport that I love in my backyard. And don't get me wrong, we have great AFL, we have other sports, but the sport that I love, which is football, is completely and utterly let down at everywhere you look by our current government, and the money that goes into it, especially at grassroots levels, the young players coming through to today. You can see it through the A-League, which is our local competition. You can see it with young players today. All they dream of is getting across to Europe because they know that's where they get looked after. They know that's where the money is. They know where that's the fame is. They know where they can take their careers to the next level. None of them, and I mean none of them, dream of representing and in the A-League. It's always a stepping stone to their next big move into Europe. And until the government step in and fund it and make it viable for a kid of today or the future to want to be part of this setup and give them the training ground, give them the pitches that they need, give them the areas that they need to train on. We're just not going to see it here, lads. So big breaking news: Graham Arnold coming out using the England media and around the current tonight's friendly to have a big whack at Australian Prime Minister.
What's been the reaction at home?
Terrible. The reaction is, and all over social media, is that the Socceroos should just protest and not rock up to play against England. That's honestly what people have said. I've been reading it on social media. I've been reading it in local news articles. I've been reading it even on our nighttime TV, daytime TV news channels. They're saying that why don't the Socceroos just protest? If the Socceroos say, until you, much like any other business, any other trade, if you will, you strike, don't you? If you're not getting paid, if you're not getting looked after by the head honchos, by the CEOs and all of that, then you go and strike until they do something. We saw it with the trains, the drivers, all that sort of stuff. If you don't pay your train drivers enough, then the trains aren't going to get driven. Same as this. If you don't look after our footballers, they're not going to play football for you. And that's the reaction from the Australian fans and footballing lovers like myself. That if they want, if the government's not going to listen, then make them listen. Don't just refuse to play, whatever it may be. If Graham Arnold is so passionate about this, he has the power, and he's the one that leads this team. He could simply turn around and say, "Well, your lads aren't coming out to play tonight," and then what's Australia going to do? Do you know what I mean? So it's not going to happen, but it's literally the attitude that everyone's got at the moment, which is crazy.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? It is, and I mean, it's a national sport. It's something that they should get behind. I think it's quite right, the stance that they're taking, to be honest. And I would imagine it's not the same for other sports. I mean, cricket, I suppose, is that the national sport, right?
Yeah, I'd say the national sport's probably the Australian. I mean, we argue about
Australian
this, and
rules?
people argue. Australian rules. I mean, that's our national sport. Cricket's probably up there as well, but we don't have the strongest. We have grassroots cricket, here in terms of, the teams that play cricket around in Australia, but that's not, quite as popular as, international cricket. Whenever Australia plays, that's what sells out. But in terms of crowd numbers, Australian rules football, they sell out. Rugby league, the NRL, that sells out. If there's an Australian cricket game, that sells out. And they would be the big three. I would say rugby union is falling behind a fair bit. And then we've got some other ones like Olympic sports, like swimming and stuff like that. I think there's a big interest in that sort of stuff. But the big three for me, AFL, NRL and cricket for sure here in Australia. Football's nowhere near it.
And singing songs. That's the national sport, singing songs, making up songs.
Yeah, making up sorts, because sometimes one of the best stadiums in the world has a new PA system that they want to test.
Would you like
what I mean?
Would you like to explain further? You've just openly, publicly pledged your betrothal to Middlesbrough Football Club, and to celebrate the new PA system. The club came out and said, "What songs would you like played on?" So rather than just go, "Yeah, we'll have a bit of this and we'll have a bit," what about Oasis? Rye goes and writes his own song to be played on the PA system, Steve.
Unbelievable. Have we got this? We
have. Do you have earplugs?
I do, yeah. And plenty wax to stick back in me ear if I need to.
It's a bit loud. It comes with
a banger. It's a banger.
It comes with a bit of a government health warning. This is the breakfast show. This is Rye's song that he's put together to be played probably as the first song on the Riverside's new PA system.
Oh, Riley McGree, my boy is back and I'm so happy. Oh,
love it.
We're going to the Premier League. We're going to the Premier League. The Premier League.
Oh dear, I think you get the idea, Steve. Do you think you'll get to number one?
I think you'll get locked up. I think you'd be banned from coming into the country.
Oh dear, you should see the video. Yeah, get onto YouTube, get onto Invictus TV on YouTube and have a look at the video.
When does he actually start singing, Dave? It was just all noise to me.
Oh, there you go.
Geez.
Love it. Oh dear.
Absolutely hilarious.
I don't know what comes over me sometimes, I swear. Honestly, it's not me. It's not me.
We don't know. It's when you let loose, mate. It's when you let loose. That's the problem.
I just get too passionate sometimes.
Well, we're talking Australia. Saudi Arabia, as we know, we're hoping to be awarded the 2034 World Cup, right?
Yes.
But there's been talk of an Australian-led roadblock.
Yes.
Are you behind this? Are you behind this?
Yes, that is me. It is me, 100%.
What is going on?
I've looked into the coffers. I've said, yep, we can do this. And I've said, get out of my way, Saudi. Australia is going to take it. No, look, it was part of a group thing. We're seeing a lot of this, aren't we? We're seeing a lot of nations come together to put in group bids. I'm not sure if that's the way of the future or not, but it seems the days of just England being a sole host nation, or Australia being a sole host nation, or America being a sole host nation are gone, because it seems that we're just, we're grouping up, and Australia's done this. So Australia have now linked up with Indonesia and Malaysia and Singapore to currently come together to have a joint bid for the 2034 Soccer World Cup. Now, it was believed that Saudi Arabia was currently favoured. They were going to host the tournament. It was in the bag. It was already done. That Saudi Arabia was going to have it in 2034. But Australia have made this late bid to come in with Indonesia, Malaysia and Singapore, who were believed as a group, as a trio, weren't strong enough to pull FIFA, pulling the World Cup to them. But with Australia now part of that, there is a real big discussion that they could pull this off. So we're reporting here this morning in our Sydney Morning Herald, the president of the Football Association was coming out and saying, "Yeah, we're part of it. We want to mount the challenge to Saudi Arabia." And we're discussing. We're currently in discussions with Indonesia, currently discussions with Malaysia and Singapore to put it in a joint bid and to take it off Saudi Arabian hands. So I'm sorry, Saudi Arabia, but here come the Aussies, as you will. And 2034, when this radio station is, live worldwide, and where, Steve and I are so famous that it's, that can't be funny, then we're going to be in the VIP box, Steve, and it's going to be thanks to me. Remember me in 2023, 11 years time, mate, when I got us into that VIP box, because it was me that put forward the bid. So, yeah, but again, real chance to take it. Interestingly, though, I mean, I don't think you're going to... India, Malaysia and Singapore are kind of close. Not that close to Australia, though, still overseas. So there's be a lot of flying around for the players. But is this the way of the future, lads? Are we going to see more and more countries joining together. We saw it with Turkey and Italy coming together to try and take the next Euros. I mean, is it the way of the future now?
It is a fear of mine that it is going to go that way, and I can see why. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, football mad countries. You've got some great stadia there already, which I know would be redeveloped if they got it. You've got Bukit Jalil, Shah Alam, Alam Shah Stadium, which is 100,000, 90,000 respectively capacities in Malaysia. You've got the Senayan in Jakarta, which again is a 100,000 stadium. Yep. So I mean, you've got, and Singapore has the 55,000 national stadium with a roof over the top. So you've got some great infrastructure there. You've got a huge passionate fan base for football. I can see that now being a real threat to Saudi. And let's not forget, there are 4 votes, 4 member association, national association, FA, whatever you want to call them, votes there when it comes to politics in the game, as opposed to 1 vote, which is Saudi. So yeah, even politics could creep in here, and I could see that giving the Saudis a real run. I mean, make no mistake of it, the Saudis will put in a hugely strong bid for the World Cup, because that's what they've been working towards for the past couple of years. Yeah, correct. So they'll pull no punches. They will go in hard, and they'll go impressively. But yeah, my fear is, I went to the World Cup in Germany in 2006. I went to the World Cup in France in '98. They're great experiences to get round and see a country. I'm fearing now, with the split geography that's becoming the norm, football fans won't be able to get to a country and see the country as well as watch the football, because they'll be, where's my next game? I've got to fly, I've got to travel, I've got to pack, I've got to get into hotels. Where's my next game? And it just takes away something for me, having multiple countries hosting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. For me, it should just be one country and that's it. I mean, we've got the Euros now, haven't we? And it's going to be Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England, and yeah, it's just a load of faff on, isn't it? And this is international football, as you know, guys, isn't my bag. I'm not really a big fan of international football. I don't get excited about it. But yeah, I've got to agree with you, Dave, on this. It's something we both agree on, 100%. But we will watch that with interest as to what happens with Saudi Arabia. The other question, and again, this is another one that Rai put up yesterday, and I do like to try and get stuff in there for those people listening. And if you could sign one player for your club in January, who would it be, both realistically and not? Now, this really is a good question, Rai, because it depends on how the team has been playing over those first couple of months of the season, and by now we're into the second international break. We're heading quickly into autumn, and coming hurtling towards the Christmas period. January will be here before we know it. So all eyes are now starting to turn on who's not getting a game at various clubs, and at Newcastle's level. It was all about the centre halves. People were saying that, Botman and Shaw, if one of them got injured, who were you going to play? You can't play Dan Burn there because Eddie Howe sees him as a left back. We can't play Jamal Lascelles there because he's useless. But over the last 3 games, Jamal Lascelles has come in and done a sterling job. We beat Man City in the Carabao Cup. We beat PSG in the Champions League. We got a creditable draw at West Ham, 2-2. Probably the first mistake he made down at West Ham in those 3 games. We're not going to complain about that. We got a point away from home at a team that's just won a European trophy. But now, people are now looking and saying, well, maybe in January we should invest in a centre forward. So, it shows you how fickle football fans can be. But if we could sign one player, and I guess that leaves it wide open, because, it could be a player that's just moved. From a club. I'd still like to say Harry Kane at Newcastle for 2 reasons. Firstly, because he's still a really good striker, and I think he would fit our team perfectly. He's the right kind of character. He's the right kind of personality. He wouldn't be involved in any controversy. He'd score goals, and that's ultimately what you need from your centre forward. His injury record's pretty good. He's still playing on a regular basis for England as well. He's still captains England at times, and from my perspective, he's an all-round consummate professional who you would love to see playing your shirt. Commercial revenue, of course, would be immense with Harry Kane wearing a shirt at Newcastle, whether that be number 9 or whatever. So there's that. Plus, you know, even though it's not my record, it's our record, it's the club's record, it's Shearer's record. You'd love to see Harry Kane come to Newcastle, as a Newcastle player and beat Shearer's record. If someone's going to beat it in a black and white shirt. So for purely selfish reasons on that score, and because he's a really good player, I'd love to see Harry Kane come to Newcastle. That would be my signing. So is the one that stands out for you guys for the Borough? And I guess it could be anybody, so it doesn't have to, you know, you don't have to be looking at like a player who would think twice about coming to the Championship. It could be anybody. Is there anybody who you'd like, Ray?
Yeah, I was thinking, you know what, if you had have told me, if you had got me a couple of months ago, the one that I thought, and we were kind of linked with, but it never really eventuated, was actually Rico Lewis. Rico Lewis is the young Man City right back, fullback, but he's actually been used now by Pep Guardiola. We saw him against Arsenal where he actually did a cheeky gesture to the Arsenal fans, but he's actually being used. But I thought that Rico Lewis would have been a really good fit in our young, developing squad. For me, the right back role at the Borough is still one that I question because of, you know, the Anthony Jicksteele is a great player and he slots into that right back role, but he's very, very injury plagued at the moment. And then you're left with Tommy Smith. And then Tommy Smith is obviously 31, 32 years of old age now. And there's not really a young, exciting right back. We've answered the left back role. I think Bangura and Engel are going to fight for that. I think it's great. I think the centre backs are completely and utterly covered. We've got Dale Fry. You've got Rav Vandenberg there now in his role of a young and up and coming centre back. And then you got obviously Darryl Lenihan in there as well. So the right back role still for me is one that I left questioned. The midfield is so utterly dominated with strength now that I'm not worried about that. And you know what? Joshy Coburn's probably eased my worries about up in the striker between him and Latte Lath. I think Carrick's only ever going to play one of them. So you can either have Latte Lath or Coburn up front. So the real question for me is the right back role. And Rico Lewis was one that I thought and earmarked as a young centre, as young right back that we could get. But I don't think that's realistic anymore because he's now getting games at Man City. If he hadn't have been out of the game and out of the team, then potentially. So who do I now look at? It's a good question. Maybe Kwanzaa, is it? I think it's Jarrell Moran Kwanzaa from Liverpool. He's also plays for the England under-21s. I rate him highly. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. And I think, that would be just somewhere in that right back role that could come in as a young, exciting young right back to take us forward and someone we can I guess, if we're going down this whole, youth system of, we're signing on players to take us into the next 4 or 5 years, then I'd like to see the right back role because unfortunately, as much as I love him, Tommy Smith isn't going to be there the next 4 to 5 years. And I fear that Jick still hasn't got it in him as well, even though he's still young to be there for the next 4 to 5 years as well. So right back for me needs to be sorted in January.
So you wouldn't go up the road then to Newcastle and pull Kieran Trippier if you could have any player?
Nah.
Because
Kieran Trippier's going to get and he's also going to get destroyed tonight by Sammy Silvera against the Socceroos, and it's going to end his career.
Not this again.
Do you know what I mean? So
it's not American. It's not Australian rules,
Yeah. For me, there's an easy answer for me.
I tell you, I would take Livramento though. I'd take Livramento.
Yeah, so would I.
I think he's I'd take a young right back in Livramento.
Yeah, indeed. No, I'd definitely do that one. More realistically, I'd just go to Ajax and offer him $7 million for Akpom because he's just not getting.
You get him back.
Get him back.
Know.
Yeah, get him back.
Saw him.
Cut price deal. We've made a few
last
quid.
night.
Yeah, he came on 85 minutes. I mean, he's just not getting his game.
Yeah, he's not. No,
do you think he regrets going there?
Not yet. I don't think he will yet. I think he'll be. You
don't reckon?
There'll be questions in his mind, thinking what's going on here. But it's only early in the season, isn't it? He's just all right. He only came on for I was going to say 5 minutes. There was extra time as well, injury time as well. But he's just got a taste of Champions League action. I think he'll enjoy that. But I think give him another 5 or 6 games, and if he's not in the first team, he will be regretting it.
I think he acknowledges it's probably been a tough start. But I think he's still obviously, excited long term. But the thing is that surprised me so much is with Ajax is how messy it's been.
Yeah.
I mean, Ajax have been quite a stable club. And then Chuba's walked in there and it's been a hot mess. They've had the big loss where they ended up rioting You know what I mean? And then the whole stadium got destroyed in that one. And they're also third last. They haven't won a game yet. And then you've also got so they've had 2 games in a row stop. One was the riots. The second one was the poor goalkeeper getting knocked out unconscious, and like real bad, scary scenes. And that game was abandoned as well. So he's had 2 games abandoned as well. If we're looking at players that have left to come back, I think the big one's Giles. I think Ryan Giles is if we're asking any one of them that are probably not too happy, it's Ryan Giles. Ryan Giles has gone to Luton Town, bottom of the Premier League, and he can't get a game. He can't get into that squad, and they are bottom of the Premier League. And Ryan Giles was an absolute assist machine last season. Had one of, if not one of the standout performers for me. Got team of the season easily as the left back in the championship, did Ryan Giles. And him not getting a game in Luton, whether it's in the midfield or down the left back role, is the absolute surprise for me. So I agree with you. I'd take Juba, but I think for me, in terms of unhappiness of people that were on loan at our club that are now at Premier League or wherever they may be, the big one for me stands out as Gilo.
Yeah, and I've just got to correct myself. Sorry, I've just got to correct myself before I get letters. It was the Europa game against Olympique Marseille, wasn't it, when he got his European taste? Not, I think I said the Champions League, but none of them are as big as the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, it is. It is the Europa League.
I want you to answer this, Dave. The FA Chief Executive, Mark Bullingham, says the governing body is in favour of live broadcasting video assistant referee conversations to give fans clarity over decisions. But he's received opposition from referees.
Here we go.
Interesting one, isn't it? Interesting. Look, I'm probably, I could be the right one. I was going to say I'm probably the wrong one to ask about this because I was the ref that was mic'd up back in 2005 in Asia, refereeing games out there for TV broadcasts. Me personally, I have no issue. I think there should be. I think it should be a little bit like rugby, where you see them, use the TV screen, you use video replays to see was it a try, wasn't it a try, etc. And the crowd get to know what's going on. I think football should be the same. I think the audio should be made available. I think the fans in the stadium are left picking their nose if you're Steve Wraith, or standing there wondering what the hell's going on while the match officials are trying to come to some decision. We saw that farce a week ago where a game's held up for 3 minutes and we weren't quite sure whether they're looking for a free kick, whether they're looking for offside. What is it they're looking at here? So get the audio broadcast for me. Why would referees be against it? Because it's going to reveal warts and all everything they do. That's probably the only reason why I can see referees would be against it. But it's good to hear Mark Bullingham saying he's in favour, because in the past it's always been the FA that have dug their heels in and said, that's one area we don't want to go into, miking up referees. So, let's hope it changes. And they
did it at the World Cup. They did it at the Female World Cup. They mic'd them up. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Hearing what they had to say, they mic'd them up. I thought it was great. I think, if not anything, it made them more personable and through that decision process, and you knew exactly what was going on. Even if it was as simple as waiting for the decision, hearing that, from the on-field ref, and then you know at least what's going on, rather than standing in the field, and making up a song like I would, or picking your nose if you're Steve Wraith. Like it's just at least keep the fans involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let them know what's going on. Do you know what I mean? So I think
picking your nose and singing even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so making a song up about picking your nose. Whatever it may be.
Well, that's your task over the weekend.
Tell you what, though, it is scary, isn't it? It is scary how close we are closing into January. I mean, we're almost midway through October. Before we know it, January's going to be here. It'll be interesting to see where all the clubs are and where we sit. And January's always a big one because you sort of see the fringe players then starting to go, well, I want out of there. I'm not getting a game or anything like that. Is there anyone that surprised you at Newcastle United that hasn't gotten a game this season or much play time this season, Steve, that you could see leaving in January?
Not really. I don't think there's anybody who stands out. I think Newcastle, because of the amount of games they've had to play, have managed the squad rotation fairly well. I think probably last season Matt Targett stood out because he'd had such a good season prior to last season, but he took ill, he got an injury, and then Dan Burns' form kept him out of the team. So it was an easier question, I guess, to answer last year. This year, there's nobody who really stands out. I think maybe people would be pointing at Tonali as a potential. Why hasn't he had as much regular game time? Elliot Anderson, of course, had a good pre-season. A lot of people felt he deserved a start and didn't. But no, I think Eddie Howe's got a
Can I put one to you?
Squad rotation. Yeah, go on.
Can I put one to you? Matt Ritchie.
Yeah, he's not the player he was. He's more of an influence. He's more of an influence in the dressing room and in and around.
Could you see him dropping down to the